Bob J.
Good evening, family. My name is Bob. I'm an addict.
Bob.
And I don't know. I just looked up a little something, and we like lost a person. Lost a person was close and dear to me today, and just want to take a moment of silence for the brother. Okay, all right. Yeah, again, my name is Bob. I'm an addict.
Hey, Bob.
And it's been a long journey in recovery for me. My clean date is 11/24/91, clean just for the day. And blind leading the blind. Take this hat off. Sponsorship. It says in here, I'm going to just read, this is out of our sponsorship booklet. It says here that the sponsorship is the key to working the steps, to understand the spiritual principles, practicing them in all of our affairs. So let me just tell you a little bit at the beginning. When I first came into Narcotics Anonymous, then rehab, detox rehab, and when I got over to rehab, after listening to me babble and crazy, they told me, you need to fire your board of directors.
Oh.
And they told me for me to get my ass off the cross, they needed the wood. They told me a lot of stuff in rehab. But most importantly, they told me to get somebody to help me before I leave that particular facility. And the person I chose to be my sponsor, he's still my sponsor after 29 years today. I still need his help. I still need his compassion. I'm still trying to get the compassion that he has for people, because growing up, and where I come from, there's no such thing as surrender. In Homewood, there ain't no surrender. On the hill, people from the hill, there ain't no surrender. We never heard of the word. Never heard of the word surrender. It was always trying to get ahead of the next guy, knock him down, knock him out, get even, and that's how I live my life, And then coupled in with my father, the expectations he put on me to be the best that I can be and be perfect, you know what I mean, Tom? And thanks for your share, man. It's a good share, man. I can relate to a lot of it, man. And trying to be perfect in what his teachings was, because coming up in the 60s and 70s, it was hard, it was hard. My father was always one of those guys and they always say, like, you have your first sponsor, could be your mother or your father. Well, I had a plethora of first sponsors. And they always told me a hard head make a soft behind, soft ass. You know what I'm saying. And so even then, I recognized that I wasn't listening to motherfuckers. They tell me go right, I go left. They tell me, to go to the store and bring back my change, I would spend the damn change, So early on, I had a hard head, and I wasn't going to listen to nobody, And so by the time I got to this, fellowship, I was thoroughly beaten. I was tore out the frame. All the words and the lingo that we talk, because we have this special language in the fellowship that we use. You know what we use in the fellowship, and you know when somebody's in the fellowship, right? Hungor, when you talking to somebody in the fellowship, and they tell you, man, sit in the front, like Tony was saying, the critical care unit, You know what I'm saying? When they tell you, man, sit down, quit walking back and forth to the pot, them girls ain't looking at you. You know what I mean? When they telling you all, people are telling you, different people are telling you this, and your sponsor is there to guide me through the step work. My sponsor, like I said, he put me on the steps early on. I'm from the old school too. Like he told me, get a book. So I got the basic text. I needed direction. I needed guidance. I needed somebody to help me because in of myself, I could not lead myself across the street, y'all. I could not, I couldn't even spell my name. I used so much and so hard. Like it talks about in our basic text, the animalistic level, I was past that. I was like, primitive man, caveman. Went back to the caveman days, baby. So when I got here, we used to have a saying down at 951 Penn Avenue. I'd go stand at a coffee cup butt naked on my head to stay clean. I needed some help. If my sponsor would have told me to do that, I would have did it. Because I was so tired of being beat and, tearing myself. See, most importantly, it tells us in our literature, the most important person to hurt themselves was me. I'm the one that hurt myself all the time. And then I would cry victim, thinking that, I'm going to get some sympathy, when only to turn around the next day and do the same thing over and over and over again, And so when I got to Narcotics Anonymous, I was tore up from the floor, like we always say around here. So I got my sponsor, and he guided me through the steps, and he took me through 1, 2, and 3. Then we got to the 4th step. By the time I got to the 4th step, that's when it was really time to put down the information about me and learn more about myself. And through writing that step, man, it gave me some insight about my ideas, my action behavior. And see, that's the whole key for me when it talks about the sponsorship being the key. When he pointed out some things to me that I really, really needed to work on to stay clean. Because I always ran back to the pussy. I always ran back to the gambling, the money, the flashy cars. See, I came in here with a decent credit score. I still had a job. I still had some of them things. But I had the hoopty, I had the jalopy. I had, like I said, I could relate to a lot of your story, man. And so after being with my sponsor for the first 5 years, I turned around and I got me some sponsees. Okay? So now these guys are dependent upon me to guide them through the steps, And one thing about step work is real personal. Everybody has to grow within where they're at. It's like when I started with my sponsor, he said, when the pupil is ready, the teacher will appear. See, I come from the old school. There's a lot of people, they start off, they want the elevator recovery. They want the escalator recovery. They want the microwave recovery. See, I learned that, in order to work some steps around here and to really get understanding, it's just like it says in our flat book, First, I got to learn how to stay stopped. That means stop using drugs. I can't work a step until I stop using the drug. I can't even think. Most people, when I first got the sponsor, the sponsees that I got, oh man, I want to jump on it. I said, did you learn how to stay stopped first? Have you really stopped using? And most of them answer was no. And a lot of them said, man, I'm going to move on. And it's okay. You ain't hurt my feelings. Because it says in our literature too, it says if you want what I have to offer, you're willing to make an effort to get it. You do what I'm going to do. You do what I do. So I feel like this: if you want what we have to offer, you have to do what we do to stay clean. Okay? And the most important thing you can do, again, to save your life is first and foremost is to stop using. Next comes your step work. And diligently, that's what I did. I worked my steps diligently. And I worked my steps diligently with my sponsees. I was just working the fourth step with my sponsee last week. And I mean, we really got into the meat and potatoes of his fourth step. And when you're looking at my characteristics versus his character defects and characteristics, we were so much alike. We were so much alike out in the street, you know, and that's the thing about, you know, when you're leading somebody. It says the topic I have is blind leading the blind. When you're leading somebody, a lot of times you'll find out that we're so compatible. We're so much on the same daggone page. It's hard, you know, it's hard not to even, you know, think about like whether or not the person that you're working with is that close to you. It's hard not to think because he is the person that I used to be when I was coming in the door. And he loved this program. You know, he loves this program, you know. And so, you know, and even though I've been in recovery for like, again, a little over 29 years, I still have to go to people in the fellowship. I go to Hank. I go to George. I go to my main man, Gordon back there, man. You know, relationship problems. You know, health issues. You know, I lost my whole family since I've been in recovery. My whole family has died. Mark has been here. I know you know Mark. Mark has been, and he's been here for me the whole time. At every funeral, he's been there. My sponsor, that's why I said, Kurgelin has been there for me all through every death in my family, man. And the compassion he shows. I mean, not only for me, he's been there for a lot of everybody's family. You know what I'm saying? You know, Lamont's dad, stepdad, you know? You know? Yeah, so, I mean, we got relationships in this room with each other, man, that go way beyond just sponsor-to-sponsor relationships, you know? We got, you know, a culture, a binding culture here that allows us to be helping one another, helping other people, helping our family members, and also helping our sponsees become the best people they can be, man. And one thing I learned too, you can't make anybody work steps. They got to be ready. Just like I had to surrender to this program, they got to be ready to make the move to work on themselves. You know, so I think my time is up. 5 minutes? Okay. You know, I'm just going to tell you, man, get a sponsor. It's the most important person in your life is going to be your sponsor. That person is going to guide you. If you're new, that person is going to help you. He's going to be there beside you and walk you through life on life's terms. That's life on life situations. I know one thing, and I'm going to share this. You know, when I first got out of rehab, I couldn't spend money because money was a trigger. I couldn't hold money, rather, because it was a trigger. And my sponsor, I gave him like $400 or $500. He kept that money for me. He made sure I paid my bills, made sure all my needs were met. Sponsorship is one of the keys to this program, just like it says in our literature. They say it's the heartbeat of the program. And also, it is the heart of the program. So just like we keep coming here and come to meetings and get the message of hope and the promise of freedom and learn how to get through life situations, that's what sponsorship is about. He helps us to deal with life. He helps us to get through life situations. No, he's not no magic man. He don't have all the answers. But what he does do, he shows us how to be a better man and how to live and practice these steps in all of our spheres and these spiritual principles that we grow up with, and we use them to help each other. And that's all I have. Thank you.